Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a very interesting panel discussion rounding up the day, focusing on sustainability and our partner region, Nordics. When we talked about sustainability in recent years, the attributes of additive manufacturing, as we heard, such as optimum material utilization or local production, have been cited very, very frequently. Of course, these factors are of fundamental importance, but on the other way, there are also other important parameters that we can influence by the technology. Today, we want to talk to companies that use additive manufacturing intensively about where they see approaches in the area of sustainability, but also about the general influence of additive manufacturing in their companies. And I tell you, the lineup promising not only interesting views, but certainly also insights with concrete application. Let me introduce you to our panelists. To my left, we have Mr. Thorsten Otto. Welcome, Thorsten. Director Additive Manufacturing at Grundfos. Then we have Niklas Franke, Head of Additive Manufacturing and Production Simulation at Danfoss. Great to have you here, Niklas. And then we have Kenneth Wedel, Director Additive Manufacturing at the Lego Group. Kenneth, good to have you. And welcome again, Frank, CEO of Danish AM. Frank Lorentzen, good to have you here. Frank, let's start with you. You were somehow the initiator, right, of this panel. Explain to me why the topic of sustainability and why Danish AM Hub as the initiator.
Yeah, so I think I'm a little bit the guilty one there because Sasha, the vice president of Sargo at Formnext here, he told me the view that German industry has this view on Denmark that we are focusing on sustainability.
We do.
And also that probably we have 2 or 3 years advance on driving that discussion forward in our production. I said, well, let's then bring Danish manufacturers to Formnext to just talk about how they use AM for more sustainability, but also to what might be the next advances that we need within the AM industry to really succeed in pushing this sustainability forward.
Very good, very good. And you see the lineup and the other presentations, so you did a really good job. Thank you for that, Frank. Kenneth, let's talk a little bit about the Lego Group. Your core product is made of plastic. I think this is nothing we can discuss away, by the way, but everyone knows Lego and played with Lego. I'm pretty sure still plays with Lego. So there are surely some initiatives in your company regarding sustainability. And I would be interested in what role does AM play in these initiatives? And can you feel the urge of sustainability already in your area?
Yes, of course, AM is really important for the Lego Group, or not AM, sustainability is really important for the Lego Group in that sense that, as you said, our product is plastic, and we're really much looking how we can make that better for the environment in general. I would say for now, AM is not a big driver of the sustainability topic. Right now, we're just trying to see how can we apply AM in general into the Lego context and really trying to explore and see what benefits AM can bring us in that sense. So from the moment, sustainability is not the main driver in there. Of course, there is potentially some benefits that we can drive, but for now, not the big focus.
On the other side, I must say at the moment, because we had this discussion before, if we consider what Jennifer just told us, it's a journey. And in my opinion, it's important to start the journey. And I think that's what you already did, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We will tackle that later. So, Niklas, your team presented last year a solution or an application that has to do with a CO2 calculator that Frank will explain probably later again. So, to determine what CO2 savings you can have, what was this solution? What was it about? And what was the savings?
We did a CO2 calculation for an assembly tool, essentially, of which many parts are needed and a lot of different variants. And since also for Danfoss, sustainability and ESG is very top of the agenda, we also have to kind of understand for how sustainable additive can be. And this was our first case that we did. And there, with the design freedom of additive manufacturing, we could significantly reduce the part count from 45 pieces to a single piece. We could switch from milled steel to print aluminum. And here the result was that additive manufacturing for this application was 30% more sustainable, less CO2.
That's awesome. And that's basically the success stories we need in order to convince our colleagues to push it more forward. So, Thorsten, Grundfos, as I read, decided very early to focus on additive manufacturing as one of the core technologies. How do they use, or how do you use additive manufacturing today? And does it already have something to do with sustainability in the surrounding of Grundfos? Sorry for asking that.
I think we of course use additive manufacturing today as both as a technology to develop our new products, and we also use it for producing some of our end components. So I would say the enabler wasn't sustainability, but we see AM as a means to reach more sustainable products, improve our performance of our products going forward. But it takes a lot to actually get to a stage where we can say that now AM is an integrated technology in everything we do. We need to have focus on the process, the materials, and the materials is a hot topic.
Yeah.
When it comes to sustainability. How much waste do we produce? How clean is the materials that we use? And what type of energy do we actually use to run our equipments with? So I think sustainability is there, and it will be a more important factor going forward in terms of enabling more sustainable products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably you can address shortly a little bit more what Grundfos is doing, yeah, and where you apply already additive manufacturing. That would be interesting.
Yeah. So we use it for tooling to optimize our production. We use it in for specific low volume applications. So it could be tools, jigs, fixtures, and also parts that is potentially not possible to produce with known technologies today. So we use both plastics, so for polymers, and we also use it in metals. And then of course we investigate the coming technologies or new technologies that are out there, like binder jetting technology and so on. But that is a whole different ball game.
Okay. So still a progress,
Yes.
still a journey.
It's a journey.
Let's
Yes.
put it that way.
Yeah.
Very good. Frank, one question to you. You have a remarkable, let's say, mission that you push forward. You have set the goal of making Denmark the most knowledgeable place in the world when it comes to using AM for more sustainable manufacturing. This is quite a target, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
What initiatives are part of this? And my question would be, does it go beyond the environmental focus regarding sustainability?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right that is a really going to the moon kind of a mission,
Yeah,
right? But I don't think that it's actually really unrealistic. If you look at Denmark as a production nation, as a manufacturing nation, there is a reason why Lego is there, why Grundfos is there, why Danfoss is there, why Novo Nordisk is there. We have some of the best manufacturers in the world within their areas. And it's not because we have a lot of raw materials or we have a lot of mountains. It's because we are really good at innovation. And if we inject that with new technology and also with the urge to do something sustainable, we can create immense amount of value in no time. I have no doubt with this. The problem that we have seen 4 years ago was that when we talk sustainability in AM, you would say, is AM sustainable? And the answer would either be A, yes, or B, no, depending on if you're optimistic or pessimistic, right?
Yeah.
And to me, that doesn't make sense, that question, because AM is a tool, and it's a little bit like asking, is a hammer good or bad, right? We need to figure out how we use the hammer so it's good. And that's what we want to try and do in AM Hub. And there's the CO2 calculator is one initiative that is really great in that way, because it doesn't make sense to be able to go really far or go really fast if you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
And that's the mission of the CO2 calculator. So yeah.
So probably together with Niklas, we quickly tackle that point and explain, because you used it, right, Niklas? I mean, basically. So first I would like to know quickly how it works. So probably we can do it with the solution of Danfoss. And then the second question to you, Niklas, but I repeat it afterwards again, so is what was the result making with the mindset inside the company? Because 30% less consumption or less CO2 emission is significant. So did it change anything? That would be interesting. But first, let's quickly start, Frank, probably together. How did this work with the calculator?
Yeah, so the calculator works with a database called EcoInvent, and then a scientific tool on top of that where we can model different things. And the way we do it is say that we need to compare it to something, because it doesn't make sense to say it's yes or no. So we need to compare it up against something. And we take a traditional manufactured part, either casted or molded or milled, and then we compare it to a printed part. And we do that in the 5 steps of the life cycle, so that we can see where are the largest emissions and does it make sense from a sustainability point of view to print this.
And how did this work, Nicholas? How was a cooperation going on with the Danish AM up at your project?
Very straightforward. We're guided what is needed, so what kind of data is needed. Luckily, within Danfoss, we had the right contacts. Also good relationship to our suppliers to provide this information, and then putting it in, getting a result was very straightforward. So it kind of it is what needs to be, and basically we just want to have more of these calculations.
Yeah, and then would be interesting. I mean, that would be the second question. Inside your organization, how was that seen? I mean, Kenneth, we discussed a little bit what it was is a perception of additive inside the company, but regarding the connection between additive manufacturing and sustainability, did this create a discussion on that topic, or what was the outcome?
It is really it was a first case, a first pixel in the picture of showing when and under which circumstances additive can be more sustainable. So it's a journey. You can't spin around the discussion internally in Danfoss of additive being sustainable around one case. We need more. Really understand it. It's a new metric for us to measure kind of when it really makes sense. Before it was cost, lead time. Sustainability is now another metric. And we have to understand how this metric really works and what affects it.
Very good. At the Lego Group, Kenneth, I mean, we just figured out it's not the focus of sustainability right now, but what is the usage of AM in your company and what are the first results? Or, I mean, you do it for quite a long time now. What is the main usage of AM in your company?
So within the Lego Group, we have like different applications we're exploring within AM. One of them being doing the actual Lego bricks, and there we are still piloting, testing, seeing what we can do. What does the consumer market say on getting a part that looks differently from injection molding? But we're really trying to see what AM can kind of bring complementary technology to injection molding, so we see what can it give of what we call play value to the product and really enable something new in that sense. And then the other applications is more in the production setup. We have like where we do similar to Grundfos as well, and Danfoss on jigs, fixtures, tools that we use internally there. And there, of course, as well, try to see how we benefit from AM. So also part consolidation, similar examples as well, on how we can combine different materials before into one combined package there as well. And also a lot on distributed manufacturing, so actually producing the parts on site where they're needed, rather than producing it centrally and then distributing it across the world.
And that's one of the more important aspects we already tackled in the impulse speeches before, the local production of, let's say, spare parts. To what extent was it difficult to implement this? Because I imagine you have several factories where you now need to install AM printers, you need to teach and the people how to use it, you need to create a mindset. How was that going on?
Yeah, it's of course a journey implementing things like that. I think our biggest challenge there is on how we ensure quality, things like that across, so we can deliver the same parts on all the sites. I think in general there's been a good adoption in our production setup, so people are really excited, interesting to do something with AM. They see the value quite fast there. So there's quite a good adoption across the different sites on wanting to do that, wanting to do more. And then as soon as it gets there as well, people also get excited and wanting to see where else can it bring value and how can we apply it in different places.
What I would really be interested in is considering, so we have a digital warehouse where I have the spare parts like grippers or whatever, So, and I'm now at a production site, and instead of ordering it and waiting for the part, I just print it. Compare the times, waiting for a part compared to having the part printed. Is there really a saving, or what is the main saving here?
I would say that depends a lot on the part itself, but often we can produce it within 2-3 days, something like that, and really get it up and running fast. I think a lot of the parts for us, it's critical that we keep production running, so we have spare parts in stock to really quickly shift. But in the cases where we don't, AM is a real enabler for us to really get going again and start production up as soon as possible.
Cool. So we talked about production, Thorsten, but Grundfos is you have installations outside where you probably need a spare part. Is their AM already used?
We do it in some cases, but it's more on the, let's call it, indirect printed sites. So where it's printing a mold and then doing the casting. So that is one of the ways where we can do it, but it is not in a very large scale. It's in very customized solutions. I see a potential, but I think we are a few years out in the future where we actually will be able to enable this, because we need to have the right drawings, the right CAD files, the right processes in place to actually enable this. And to bring the full value out of additive, we need to design for the process from the beginning. So this is about trying to convert legacy parts into something that is now going to be additively manufactured. I see a very big challenge in that, because it is interlinked, part of something bigger. So we need to do a full redesign, and I see that is one of the challenges to really get the industrial adoption for at least spare part production and so on. Unless it's non-complex parts, then we could of course do it, but that won't bring the value.
Yeah. But how is that going on? I mean, you are responsible for additive manufacturing in your company, so it's more like creating conviction about the technology, or is it an issue of? I mean, you can start doing design for the spare parts. Basically, I can't imagine it's not that complicated. But on the other side, do you get the same quality then, or what is hindering you, or what is the obstacle of convincing the other guys in the company starting it?
So I would say that at least some of the materials that we're using is high technical materials, and there we are challenged in actually getting some materials that is comparable when we talk about additive. We have some when we talk about the resin-based materials, but we have actually made a decision that the resin-based materials is maybe not that much in our focus in Grundfos, because we have enough waste to put into the roads as the end of life products. So we need to really think differently in the design phase, and what we're doing right now is we are maturing both the technologies, but also maturing the organization to think additively. So this is about creating an additive mindset from a design perspective, starting from the product development throughout the entire chain. That is where our focus is now, to be able to get the printers into our operations. And we have done that with focusing on the small desktop printers to create the additive mindsets. And then for our colleagues in our operation to actually take the next steps. So instead of making it as a full push, then we also want to create the pull from the organization and the divisions to see, okay, this is the potential of additive, and then hopefully at one point it will also be a pull from our customers. Maybe not for the additive manufactured part, but because of what the part can actually do.
Yeah, for them.
Yes.
Absolutely. Frank, I mean, I was quite surprised when I saw this lineup here for the panel discussion, or rather satisfied, to be honest, because we have not here 3 AM machine producers sitting with us and talking about the future and opportunities of AM. We have kind of end users. May I say that? Yeah. How do you push at the Danish AM up the coordination, the collaboration? Because I can imagine, I mean, even if the Lego Group is doing something totally different than the 2 others, and you as well, so you need to learn from each other. How has this been done at Danish AM?
Yeah, so I don't think there's a formula for that. But what we're trying to do is to, first of all, create some kind of categories So we focused a lot on AM startups, so startups that use AM technology within their core business.
Yeah.
We look at AM users, we look at AM SMEs, so small and medium-sized enterprises, and then AM developers. And they have different needs in terms of how they use AM and how they see the technology. But then we can bring them together where a topic makes sense to share.
Yeah.
And that has really worked well, at least my opinion. And also finding initiatives where we can see this could actually benefit the whole group. A thing like the calculator is equally relevant for an AM startup that can take their product and put it through a calculator and prove to the marketplace, look, my 3D printed product is actually a little bit better in terms of sustainability than my competitors. So there's bringing people together in an intelligent way, I would say. But what we have in Denmark, which is fantastic, is that it's a really small country and there's a lot of trust, not only between people as such, but also between companies.
Yeah.
So when I talk to Torsten or to Niklas or to Kenneth, they also share an interest in their sub-suppliers that are from Denmark also, and in helping them in excelling, because then they know that they can get better parts and components. So it's kind of kicking an open door in sometimes, right? Because people really want to share and to help and cooperate. So it's much more about, for us, okay, then how do we do that in an intelligent way? How do we create projects that are really worth the while?
Okay, interest is high. That's what we can say. Niklas, talking about patience, okay, because when I heard Jennifer talking about the journey as an end customer that's really heavily interested in having solutions created by AM, pushing the topic of sustainability, like Torsten described, there's a lot of convincing others inside the organization. Is there sometimes the point where you say, oh my God, guys, please acknowledge the benefits of AM and let's speed up a little bit? Is there sometimes the moment?
Definitely, I would say. I mean,
you can speak openly as nobody else from Danfoss here. So,
I mean, in large corporations, everybody's busy with their stuff, right? And then you come there with a new technology. You also want something for them. You want their buy-in, right? And this is sometimes easier, sometimes more challenging, also depending on the kind of the business cycle that you're currently in. So. But we've been very fortunate so far in Danfoss because we got from the top management, we got the support. We built up an organization, a network of people internally. We built up a community. We have meetings every month with up to 100 people, which are really interested in. And those are the people not 100% like me work on additive.
yeah.
So we got the mass mobilized.
Okay.
But it's still a journey. You need a long breath, definitely.
Yeah. But this, one question to you regarding the quality or the status of AM we have today. Or it's sufficient enough to create spare parts to the extent I understood it. What is missing, though, from your perspective in the internal discussion? Once the people say to you, yeah, we can't use it for production of our Lego parts. So what is missing on the industry side? From your perspective, in order to speed up a little bit, to use more?
I think what is really missing there is thinking large-scale manufacturing.
Yeah.
Still thinking prototype. A lot of the companies around here, they are still in that prototyping mindset, closed machines, no availability to do what you want, buying material from the same company as you buy the machine. Things like that is really stuff that is inhibiting us a lot from going towards large-scale manufacturing. We're really driven by the cost as well, so the price is a big factor here, and confining everything to one solution is not a good fit there. So I would say for us, it's a lot on the industry moving to the next level, so getting out of the prototyping mindset into the production.
But let me be a little bit critical, okay? Imagine you just changed the business model, let's put it that way. Instead of pushing the large scale part, because you want to, of course, if you're going into bricks, then you need a large scale, otherwise it might be not possible. But if you go more into individualized solutions, then you don't need large scale at the very beginning. That's something that is being discussed at Lego to get more into individual solutions for the end customer. Let's take me for my kids. I buy something that is 300 euros and I get it individualized the way I want it and get it printed. Is that something that's been considered?
It has been discussed, but it's not really what we are looking for. We want to play AM into our core product line. So the bricks, the mass market, bringing it to children all around. That's also where we want to play in, to not have it like as a niche product on the side. We want to integrate it into our value chain and really drive it towards this large-scale manufacturing.
Okay. How much, and then I don't push it anymore, I promise. No, I can't promise. So how much of your work is discussion with product management about future solutions, and how much is regarding the current use, regarding spare parts, etc.?
I think that's quite equal on both areas. So the production side is kind of full steam ahead. We are scaling up, trying to see what we can do more. And on the kind of consumer goods Lego bricks side, there we are still pushing, trying to get it into the market. So I would say it's equal effort on both areas.
Very good, very good. Nicholas, I mean, Kenneth was talking about large scale, but this is nothing you need at Danfoss, or do you need large scale as well?
Large scale in terms of quantity?
Yeah, quantity of parts.
Definitely we need that. We would like to produce in large quantities. Danfoss product portfolio goes from a few hundred pieces up to a few millions, depending on which business you're dealing with, which market they serve. And sometimes it can be really disappointing at how low the break-even point can be.
Yeah.
If you really want to go into the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, you need very, very tiny parts. And often at Danfoss, I guess also at Grundfos, the parts are larger.
Yeah.
So that's why automation, what you talked about, maturing the industry, driving down cost is a key factor to drive adoption.
And at Grundfos, I mean...
But it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So we need, of course, to drive the cost down on the parts, but I will also say we also have opportunities where we have niches for customization, but that is just not what's going to drive the AM industry or the AM introduction. We need to have scale on to make sure that it's becoming a true production technology instead of just a prototyping technology thing that we use in a corner of the business.
But then let's talk reality for a moment. Are you assuming that we really reach that point inside our industry?
I believe that we will at a point. At the fair today, we have seen areas where the industry is beginning to collaborate. Even those who had been maybe competitors before is beginning to collaborate, and I think that is truly one of the things that we need to focus on. So, doing more collaboration to actually learn from each other, and I know there will be competition. Luckily, we have a good collaboration in exchanging knowledge, and I think we just need to see more of that. And actually, sustainability could be one of the areas where we could actually collaborate about, because sustainability is for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's risk-free to do the collaboration within that area. So that's just my...
So I take with me a lot of cost-driven arguments, which are fully understandable. So Frank, leads me back to you. You tackle the topic of sustainability. Is that urging enough, don't get me wrong, to overcome probably at a certain point the topic of costs?
Sustainability in itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I also see myself as very much part of the AM industry.
Yeah.
And I always get a little bit sad when Kenneth says that adopting AM, it's not because it's a driver for sustainability. Because I feel like, wow, we have been sleeping for 40 years since we've invented this technology. Often people challenge the technology with AM is a tool that hasn't found its problem yet.
Yeah.
And to me, it just makes, guys, it's the most obvious problem that we should develop this tool to be able to tackle. And I know we're not there yet, not in any way. I know there are problems and frustrations, but I have also seen just in Danish AM Hub with the small, medium-sized enterprises we work with, it's not only Danfoss and Grundfos and Lego. We see components, parts, products, business models, where we can clearly see there's even sometimes up to 100 and 200% decrease in CO2 emissions.
Yeah.
So I know it's there. Scale is not there yet. I think supporting Torsten's point that the collaboration between key partners within the AM industry could also really foster more on the sustainability side. But actually, I think just looking at that CO2 calculator and the results we've driven there, if we can do it, everyone can do it. And that's the most interesting thing about the calculator is suddenly you start to get a feel of where does it make sense actually to use the technology, where it is today.
Yeah.
Because when we have that, we start to see, okay, probably something with advanced geometric or an active product. There we know that we can make a really, really good case. Or we need to get 50% of the weight of material away, and we can make a good case. Knowledge like that, and then just empower people to drive that forward. That would make a huge change.
Yeah,
Today, it's not something. It's not something we need to wait for. This is something you can do already today in your companies.
Yeah, the question is, are there enough drivers? How much is sustainability? Let's get back to that topic, because I think this could be a driver, as you said, Frank. I mean, how much is that an argument you can bring into your companies in order to push the AM inside your company, and how much can you do in order to push the suppliers of AM, because as you mentioned, it's not there yet, or how can you help them in order to get faster and quicker to the point of large scale? Or probably large scale is not the solution, I don't know, but it's currently the main issue, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think we can definitely use sustainability also in additive to actually drive the technology further. And I think I just need to come a bit back to what Frank mentioned about the LCA calculator, because I see what has been developed here is actually could be an enabler for doing these quick and dirty LCA calculations. We don't need to have the big LCA studies in the beginning to actually guide us or steer us into the right direction. So when we have this easy calculation of saying, okay, we can save X amount kilos of CO2, then we actually have something to go to our product developers or our board of directors and saying, okay, we can save this amount of CO2. It will cost you this. Are you willing to go into this?
Yeah, that will.
And I think that is what we have been missing. We have been missing the tool to actually justify or say what is the value that we are bringing in terms of CO2 savings.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. That's a good thing. But we need to collaborate about it and together about it. So.
And of course, in my opinion, you need more success examples where it's already applied, and you can mention just not one solution, but let's say 15 or 20 solutions, because all of your companies, as far as I know, have CO2 targets, different years, but mainly the same targets, basically. Yeah. I would like to make a turn to after sales, because I remember I had a discussion with Deutsche Bahn where they pushed their suppliers for the future to have spare parts in stock for basically ever. Yeah, for the lifetime of the trains. The only solution to achieve that is by additive manufacturing, because you can't have a warehouse for 100 years or 80 years, how long a train is running, in order to supply spare parts. I mean, you have installations on site at your end customers. Is after sales a way to think of in additive manufacturing?
I truly believe so, because the most sustainable part is the part that is not being produced. Yeah. So if we can produce that just by additive when we need it, I think it's an obvious choice. And then you will begin to ask, okay, then Torsten, how will you do it?
Yeah. Next question, yes.
Right now, I simply don't know, but it's something that we're working on. But we need to master both the technology and the capability of designing and so on to get the full benefit. But I truly believe that is the way to go.
Yeah.
In Danfoss, we actually have since, I believe, 2016 a printed spare part, a metal part.
Yeah.
Very low quantity. What else? We would have to get a tool, invest in parts for several years, and now we basically can print in much smaller batch sizes. So it's all reality, but of course at a very low scale. There's much more potential. I guess that's also where you guys would probably agree. But also just logistics, network of suppliers, how to manage this, how to manage the spare parts. But there's definitely a lot of potential.
Yeah. And I mean, this would be then a business case again, because I'm pretty sure that end customers that are using your installations, because we're not talking about 5 small parts there that are sold to an end customer. It's usually in larger installations, and very important that they are working all the time. So there's a time urge, of course, of getting a new spare part, and probably part of the service. This could be a business model, right? Okay. Kenneth, sorry I switched topics, but it's interesting to tackle it from every perspective. I remember you mentioned materials, and I mean, considering AM and the Lego Group together, or the Lego parts, you are using mainly plastics. What kind of research are you doing, and what are the materials you are looking at right now?
Yeah, so we're exploring different materials in that sense to see what can bring us the best product, essentially. Specific materials I cannot say.
Okay.
Here.
Sorry for that. Yeah.
But we are exploring different opportunities as well. Of course, also thinking sustainability to some extent, right? The future technology also needs the future material, obviously. But again, as I said, it's not the main driver. I think, again, a little bit back to this large-scale manufacturing is also how we can help bring some sustainability into it as well. The more we can scale, the more applications, the more customers that are buying materials, the more we can also drive efficiencies in those processes. And I think the tool as well can also help us kind of give an indication of where in the chain do we actually see the big CO2 leaps, right? Because a lot, of course, we can do a lot ourselves with design, part consolidation, things like that. But I think a big part of the CO2 comes from the footprint of the machine, the energy consumption, the material itself, right? So really using the tools to also highlight these things, I think is how we can use that to push the industry a little bit back as well. Like, see, we did so much that we can. Now it's on you to kind of help us finish it in that sense.
Oh, okay, very good. So, Frank, let's talk a little bit about further initiatives regarding the sustainable topic. Besides the CO2 calculator, what else is going on at Danish AM?
Yeah, so I think for us, probably until I retire, we will work on the CO2 calculator, because there are so many aspects within that. There are so many parameters, specifically impact measures, that we could and should build in without overcomplicating it. But let me give you an example. Right now, obviously, it's on the CO2e emissions. But if we let's say switch to a biomaterial and we use that instead, and we get a really nice result in our impact measure on the CO2 emissions. But then with the other hand, we have just taken away a field somewhere in India and planted a lot of monoculture, then we're not really doing anything good. You know, that can keep my team going for many years before we have a solution around that. I think the first thing we need to do is to start with the CO2 emission and then explain people that there are more impact measures that needs to be taken into account. CO2 is one thing. There is water. There is the social aspect. There are, you know, where do you produce? There are so many different aspects. But I would always urge people not to shy away from it, but to lean into it and try to decide something. Because only if we experiment and try to do something here will we get better.
Yeah. I mean, now we have the partner region Nordics. We have 3 Danish companies here. After having the booth here for quite a while, how do you cooperate now with others? Or is that already totally usual that you cooperate with Norwegian companies or Swedish companies? Is there collaboration inside the region already?
There is nothing that is totally formalized.
Yeah.
It is so we're open to talk with anyone.
Yeah.
And I think it's not something that we have been focusing on, joining a Nordic force. We need to be international. So we need to go across companies, across regions, across different parts of the world.
Okay. Let's use the rest of the time a little bit outlook-wise. Kenneth, let's start with you. What do you think will be future applications beside the spare part, or even including the spare part, if you want to extend it, for additive manufacturing at the Lego Group? What are your plans for the future?
So that's really like looking into the Lego brick. So what AM can bring to there, kind of, as I said, having it as a complementary technology to injection molding, offering something unique, something new, adding what we call, as I said, play value. So something unexpected for the children to drive something there with the product itself. So that's really where we are pushing the industry forward to, or our kind of development towards, what can AM bring in that sense.
Is there already something you can talk about, or is that...
So we launched some elements already last year.
I saw the duck, for example,
and before that also 2 other elements, a small pogo stick and a drawing board arm. So we are trying out seeing how AM can add some functionality, something new, something unexpected to the product, right? And that's really what we are kind of driving towards.
Yeah. By the way, what I wanted to ask you, are you working together with automation companies or companies, because we're talking about large scale, and automation is mostly the hindering part of getting into large scale. Are you talking to partners here as well at the Formnext to see what is possible in the future, like post-processing, like automation? Is that something you are focusing at?
Yeah, very much. So say printing is only half the process. We also have all the post-processing, which again comes back from this prototyping mindset, people manually doing things. And for us, when we talk large-scale manufacturing, that's just not the way forward. So we're really trying to work with different companies on how we can integrate more processes together, more hands-off approach to that. And also on the software side, similar. AM is again an industry where you have 5-6 different softwares that you need to go through to get your part onto the machine. When we talk manufacturing, that's just not the way forward. So there we need to kind of push and see how we can do a more like streamlined workflow that enables automation in different ways.
Very good. Same question to you, Niklas, probably. What is the outlook for AM in the future at Danfoss? And are you already using this surrounding technology?
So the overall goal at Danfoss is, also in terms of sustainability, ESG, to become our customers' decarbonization partner. And I believe that additive manufacturing has really a relevant role to play in that. Just to give you an example, many years ago, we had an application where it was more expensive, right? But basically in the first year, it amortized itself through energy savings when you have an active part. Back then, we weren't able to sell the part.
Yeah.
Our organization was not ready for that, probably also our customers. Procurement organization wasn't ready for it. If now the same application would come up now, with ESG, sustainability being top of our agenda, our customers' agenda, we would be able to push it. So for me, it's really having these energy efficient applications. Most of Danfoss applications are about energy efficiency, and additive can be a key driver there. So we will find this application also then to have the quantity drive industrialization of it.
Yeah.
So, key role.
And you are the same with automation and post-processing? Is it included in your production lines already, or?
We have a different strategy and approach to additive than these 2 companies. We work with external parties to supply the parts. So we identify application, go to our partners, and then through our quantity of applications, we can drive them automated and be more sustainable. That's all.
Okay. What about Grundfos?
Yeah, so it's a bit of mix of
very good
of the 2 other companies, and so our main focus is on our products. So how to improve our performance on the products that we actually sell to our customers to have the benefit at our customers. That is our main focus, and that is what is driving us. And then, of course, that needs to be enabled through automation, having the production lines, and then, of course, also embedding new features into our products. So we expect that we will have at least some production internally, but we also expect that we cannot have all the capabilities and be masters in all the capabilities and the technologies. So some will be sourced from with partners, and some of it will be built internally in Grundfos.
So we have basically a holistic approach at the Lego Group, if I understood correctly, combine everything like software, the production line, plus post-processing, and we work with external service providers and a mix of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds very good to me. Okay, yeah, Frank. What else can we say, and what else can we work on? Let's say. So, if you see the three of them, are you satisfied with your initiatives so far, or?
Yes, yes, very much. I think it's great to position Denmark in this way, thinking of that we're not the biggest country in the world. We will never, in volume, be able to measure or to be anywhere near Germany or the USA or China or anyway. But we might be able to be the country in the world that has the best knowledge in how to use this technology in a more greener way. And I think it starts with kind of taking that position. And we've done this a little bit with the pavilion and with our good cooperation here with the Formnext team and also with this panel today. So I'm really excited and happy about that. And just I'm completely acknowledging that we're just beginning with this journey here, and there's so much more work to be done within this area. I'm seeing, though, the last 4 years, a push towards it, where 4 years ago it was completely insane to combine AM and sustainability. Today it's much more, yeah, maybe it does make sense, and let's look at where then we can find those applications and really drive that forward. And that's the first step, and I'm happy with that first step.
Yeah, I remember the discussion 3 or 4 years ago. Then always comes somebody and says, "But look at the energy consumption,"
Yes,
and
yeah.
this destroys the whole topic. And did this change, or
No,
it's still
you're
a
right.
topic? Yeah.
And because at first, when we really started to talk about sustainability and AM, we thought that it was the best idea in the world, right? Because of the material efficiency. First of all, it seemed wow, and all the CO2 emissions in a production company is the materials almost, right? It's like 95, 98%. So here you have a technology that is really efficient on material. One, let's look at that. Two, it requires a lot of energy to print a part compared to a injection molded part, for instance, right? But where do we have green energy? Let's wait. Let's see. Denmark. We had, like last month, we had 85% renewable energy in our system. So it did make a lot of sense to us. But then it's a little bit like the famous quote from Mike Tyson, where he says, "Everyone has a plan until they're punched in the face," right?
Yeah.
And we started to look around, see why are people not doing anything on this? It makes perfect sense. And now I think sometimes you shouldn't be worried too much about that there is nothing here yet. And then start creating the world yourself. Because we had a lot of discussions on, is it the right role for a foundation to do a software tool on a CO2 calculator? And the main argument, the reason for doing that is, well, actually we're a philanthropical foundation with no commercial interests. So maybe we would actually be perfect to do that. Yeah, that's a long story short. I'm really happy with the cooperation with the pavilion and the panel here today, but just being very, very mindful that it's only the beginning.
And this is a perfect transition to my closing words. First of all, thank you to all of you to be our guests today. Very fruitful, interesting discussion. What I really like, and that's a compliment to the three of you. First, you're all users. You're not like phantasm of the future. You all use AM in your production. And what I really like was the realistic approach you showed today, because it doesn't make sense to talk about dreams all the time. We need to talk about the current needs that we have and what needs to be done next. And this was perfectly presented by all of you. Really inspiring. Thank you so much for this. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our panel discussion. Big applause, please, for the panelists here. Fantastic discussion. You will get another shot of highlights of the Formnext, and then we will see you to wrap up the day in our after-work session with 3 very interesting guests, where we definitely will come back to the panel discussion again. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in 5 minutes.